I believe that I am live, and if that is the case, welcome to today's edition of Salsa Live on Facebook and YouTube. My name is José Alberto, live from my studio here in Boston, D&J Studios, D for Divina, my dear wife who's upstairs, and J for yours truly, José Alberto. This is program number 155 live over Facebook and YouTube that we started during the pandemic back in March of 2020. And we continue to do so every Sunday now. We continue live on my radio show Saturday nights from 10 p.m. till 3 o'clock in the morning, featuring the very best in Afro-Latin music on WBUR 90.9 FM, National Public Radio in Boston. We've been doing it for 47 years. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of the Salsa family. Tonight's program is a special one. I've been waiting for this one. We have two very special invited guests. The one and only Ray Viera, an excellent singer, composer, a member of Johnny Pacheco's Tumbao for many years. He has sung with other bands that you are well aware of, including Eddie Palmieri. But today he is our guest, along with his co-producer of his latest album, Pacheco-landia, Edwin Sánchez, a very talented musician, pianist, arranger, and someone that I've been looking forward to having a conversation with and knowing much more. So stay tuned right where you are. Share this with your friends. Let them know that we are live this afternoon on Facebook. And that's the link at Con Salsa José Alberto, and on YouTube on my channel, José Alberto. Bueno, mi gente, bienvenidos a otra edición más del programa Con Salsa en vivo aquí en Facebook y YouTube. Programa número 155 que hemos estado transmitiendo desde la pandemia que comenzó en marzo del año 2020. Y gracias a cada uno de ustedes por ser parte de la familia Con Salsa. Continúo con mi programa radial cada sábado por la noche por la WBOR 90.9 FM estereofónico, radiodifusión pública aquí en la ciudad de Boston. 47 años de patria y cultura con salsa, la voz de un pueblo nuevo. Y esta noche tenemos como dos invitados, a Ray Viera, sonero pero máximo, que hemos estado muy ilusionados de tener en la programación y por fin lo tenemos. Tiene una propuesta nueva titulada Pacheco-landia, que es un disco en homenaje a quien fue su jefe, su mentor, el gran Johnny Pacheco, que en paz descanse. Y también tendremos su coproductor, el pianista muy talentoso, arreglista también, Edwin Sánchez. Así que quédense ahí, ya ellos estarán conmigo dentro de unas 30 minutos. Y mientras tanto, compartan con sus amistades para que ellos también sean parte de la programación de esta noche. Quiero darles saber que el programa de hoy se lo vamos a dedicar a la memoria de esta persona. Hemos perdido tantos ángeles. La semana pasada fue Ronnie Cooper. Esta semana, ayer, fue el fallecimiento del gran flautista afroamericano Art Webb, quien falleció ayer a la edad de 72 años. We're dedicating today's program to the memory of the one and only Arthur Webb, Artie Webb, the great flute player who passed away yesterday at the age of 72. May he rest in peace and power. Later on, I'm going to share a track or two of him with the great Ray Viera. So don't go away. Stay tuned for that. And again, thank you for being part of Salsa family. Before we get into some music, let me see. Lorig is tuning in from Florida. Thank you, Lorig. Also, Luis Omar. Saludo, Luis. Hace tiempito. Me alegro verte, mi hermano. Felicidades a ti. Un abrazo y muchas bendiciones. Vamos a comenzar con música. Let's start off with some music, and then we'll talk, and we'll hear some more music, and then we'll have our guests join us. So stay right where you are. No se vayan. Vamos a la música.
Vicente, en el solar de la esquina, allá por el mediodía, y me coreaba la gente. Baila, baila, baila Vicente, baila, baila. Baila, baila, baila Vicente, baila, baila. Vicente con su tumbao, con sabe son como es. Que fue
like that, huh? From the new CD, the album is titled Pacheco-landia. You heard Ray Viera on vocals. This is the album cover right there. Ray Viera presents, featuring on piano and doing the arrangements, directing Edwin Sánchez. You heard him on the piano solo. Both will be my guests momentarily joining me here on Con Salsa. Bueno, escuchamos la canción que comenzó el set, Baila Vicente, una presentación de Ray Viera, su nueva propuesta musical, Pacheco-landia, con el maestro Edwin Sánchez en el piano. Escucharon a Edwin en el solo piano. Edwin, quien también es el arreglista y coproductor de esta propuesta de Ray Viera. So we're listening to some new music here on Con Salsa. I want to invite you, if you get a chance to, go to my Facebook page, Con Salsa Facebook page, or go to my YouTube page and check out the interview. It's 30 minutes long in Spanish with El Maestro Chucho Valdés, the great legendary Cuban pianist. He was in town yesterday in Boston performing. Actually, it was Friday night. I apologize. Friday night in Boston performing with the Yoruban big band, and it was part of his concert tour of The Creation. And I had the honor of interviewing him, and I want you to partake of that interview in Spanish, either on my YouTube channel, Jose Maso, or on my Con Salsa page that you're watching right here. And I think you will enjoy it. The great Chucho Valdés. And speaking about special people, I want to say a very special happy birthday greeting to a dear friend who is celebrating his birthday today. That would be the one and only Paul Francisco. Paul, wishing you the very best from all your friends and your family. And as I do for everybody's birthday, I'm going to share with you an Apache blessing. May the sun bring you new energy by day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries. May the breeze blow new strength into your being. May you walk gently through the world and know its beauty all the days of your life. Happy birthday, Paul Francisco. That goes out to you from your family, especially from your wife, right there, Betty Francisco. Love you, brother. God bless. Bueno, mi gente, vamos a continuar con más música. Let's continue with more music. Share this with your friends so that they can be part of the programming. Here's another one from the new CD, Bang y Bang. This one, listen to it. And listen to the solos. Ozzy Melendez on trombone, Ray Viera on vocals, arranged by Edwin Sánchez. From the new one, Pacheco-landia.
comerme, ven y prueba la buena. Sigo sereno pero sin freno. Ven a comerme, ven y prueba la buena. Ahora viene Ozzy con su tromboneo. Ven a comerme, ven y prueba la buena. Prueba la buena. Prueba la buena. Lo que traigo es caramelo. Ven y ven y ven. Oye, mira, ven. Ven y ven y ven. Y tú no sabes lo que tengo para ti es candela morena. Ven y ven y ven. Y si tú no quieres, se lo pierde Belén. Belén. Ven y ven y ven. Ay, nena, ven.
Bueno, mi gente, el sonido de Yo Motoro en el 4, el fenecido Rapid Sari, que pasa descansa en los timbales, Jorge González en el bongo, con Bobby Allende en la tumbadora. Sangre Boricua se titula esta selección. Y hablando de Sangre Boricua, saludos a mi querido amigo y hermano Jerry Fao. Jerry Fao está en sintonía desde Puerto Rico, uno de los mejores. Todavía tenemos varios capítulos más para conversar aquí en el programa con Salsa. Así que, Jerry, espero que estés disponible en un futuro muy cercano para continuar nuestra conversación. I just want to say hello to a dear friend, Jerry Ferrao, who you know is one of my favorite singers. He was my guest earlier this summer, and we still have various chapters of conversation to continue. So I hope that he'll be available in the very near future and that you'll tune in. You can check him out on the archives that I have of Con Salsa live on YouTube, on my channel, José Mazo, and also on Facebook. El gran Jerry Ferrao. Rolando, a ver quién es aquí. Ronald Isaac, desde Brasil, un país tropical, egresado por Dios. Gracias, mi hermanito. Y por acá, nuestro amigo Félix López, Salsa para el Mundo. Muchas gracias, Félix, como siempre. Javier Mejías, allá en Tenerife, España. Se te quiere, mi hermano. Desde Italia también, Guna, como siempre, lo quiero mucho. Que Dios te bendiga también a ti. Bueno, escuchamos de esa propuesta musical que acaba de salir de Ray Viera con Edwin Sánchez, la canción Ven y Ven. We just heard Ven y Ven. Ray Viera is the producer and composer. He does the vocals that you heard. His sidekick is Edwin Sánchez, his partner, who's a co-producer and arranger and plays the piano. Ray Martinez, the great pianist, bass player, is on bass. Jorge González on bongo, Willie Romero on congas, Ozzy Melendez, who you heard on the trombones, Alex Norris is on trumpets, Vic Ortiz is also on this album. He does the flute solo on Guido de Macorina. Adriana Viera is on the violins. Adriana Viera, Stephanie Viera, Reina Viera, and Jesse Aguldero are the children singing in Yo Quiero Morir Cantando. All the songs were arranged by Edwin Sánchez, the pianist, will be my guest, and it is part of this new work in tribute to the great Johnny Pacheco. Bueno, mi gente, escuchamos esta canción y escucharon ahí quiénes son los miembros de este disco que acaba de salir, Pacheco-landia. También por aquí, ¿qué me dice el señor José Mazo? Bueno, no sé si son la enciclopedia, pero tengo gente que me ayuda, que son los músicos, los ángeles que están en sintonía. And I want to remind you that next weekend our guest will be Pablo El Indio Rosario. He'll be joining us next Sunday from 4 to 6. He has a performance 2 nights, I believe, at the C Note in Luquillo, Luquillo Beach, Puerto Rico, the new club owned by Charlie Sepulveda. And El Indio will be doing a tribute to the great Cal Jader, to Momo Santa Maria, and to Willie Bobo. So we'll have a chance to speak with him next Sunday from 4 to 6. Nuestro invitado el próximo domingo será nada más y nada menos que Pablo El Indio Rosario, el reconocido, legendario percusionista, quien estará con nosotros el próximo domingo de 4 a 6. Él tiene una presentación, o dos presentaciones, si no me equivoco, en el Sino, el club de jazz que es adueñado por el gran Charlie Sepúlveda en Luquillo, Puerto Rico. Así que estaremos hablando con Pablo Lindo Rosario sobre su presentación, que es en homenaje a Willie Bobo, al gran Cal Jader, como también a Mongo Santa María, con quien él tocó por muchos años. Entonces, la siguiente semana, nuestro invitado será Chris Rogers, trompetista extraordinario, el hijo del gran Barry Rogers, legendario trombonista, que ustedes conocen como el trombonista de La Perfecta, junto a José Rodríguez y La Perfecta de Eddie Palmieri, que dicho sea de paso, estará aquí en la ciudad de Boston el día 19 de noviembre, si Dios permite, un sábado en el Scholars Jazz Club. And so the following weekend, 2 weeks from now, my guest will be Chris Rogers, trumpet player, son of the great legendary trombone player Barry Rogers, who many of you know was a member of La Perfecta, founding member of that group with Eddie Palmieri, along with Jose Rodriguez on trombones. And Chris will be joining us to talk about his experiences as a musician, and in particular, paying tribute to the great Marty Scheller, the great arranger with whom he worked when he was recording with Mongo Santa Maria. And speaking about Eddie Palmieri, Jose Arroyo, yes, we will be there, God willing, Divina and I, to see Eddie Palmieri perform with his Latin jazz band at Scholars Jazz Club. That'll be Saturday, November 19th, so get your tickets now so that way you won't miss out on Eddie Palmieri once again visiting us here in the city of Boston on Saturday, November 19th. Así que ya lo saben. Y por aquí vamos a estar seguros que todo el mundo recibió sus saludos. El primo de Divina, Héctor León, quien cumplió año la semana pasada. Saludos de Héctor a ti. Felicidades también y gracias por ser parte de la familia con Salsa. So as we get into the music of our guest Ray Viera and his co-producer Edwin Sánchez, going back into what has been so far, in my opinion, a very illustrious career of recording, not only with Johnny Pacheco and others, but also as a solo artist. We're going to hear a track that comes from his previous solo album, and it's one that I truly enjoy, and I hope that you will as well. And the album is Sambumbia Radioactiva.
La libertad de espíritu y mente lleva al hombre al crecimiento.
The sounds of Ray Viera. Descarga Esclavitud Moderna, the album Zambumbia Radioactiva, recorded live in the studio from November of 2009 to November of 2010. You heard Ray on vocals, on the bongo, our dear friend Jorge La Campana que Baila Gonzalez, on conga, Willie Mumbles Romero, and on the trombones, playing some mean trombones there, you heard Luis Pipi Cruz doing the solo, along with the great trombone player Jimmy Bosch, who's also part of that recording as well. Some great music, and my guest, of course, is Ray Viera, and he's joining us live from his home, and I'm going to bring him on momentarily. Let me go through some comments first before we go into the, let me see, where are we? All right, in Wisconsin, I got to say hello to Jose Madera and his wife, Kim. Gracias. Did Wisconsin win yesterday in football? I think they did. Michigan State. I think they did. I don't remember. But in any case, good to see you, Tocayo, como siempre. Wilfredo Osorio, ¿qué tal? Desde Texas. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros desde Texas. Hay muchas personas en Texas que están en sintonía, así que muchas gracias por ser parte de la programación para el día de hoy. Bueno, mi gente, vamos a dar la bienvenida. Entonces, a mis invitados, let's welcome my two guests. As I mentioned before, I've been looking forward to this program for a while now. I've been a big fan since I first saw Ray performing with Johnny Pacheco several years ago when we had an event here during the celebration of the Democratic Party convention, in which John Kerry was, of course, nominated for being the president on the part, or the candidate for presidency on the part of the Democratic Party. And we had a Latino fest that included Johnny Pacheco. That was the last time he performed here. Ray was with the band at the time. And we also had Poncho Sánchez sharing the bill for that particular gig. So I've been looking forward to finally having him on one of my shows. But before we bring him on, saludo bien rapidito. Gusto en verlo de nuevo. ¿Dónde se consigue el CD? Ok. Cuando tenga a Ray conmigo, vamos a hablar sobre eso. Ok, mi hermano. Así que no te retires. Pedro Salsa allá en Colombia. Saludos como siempre. Está lloviendo en Bogotá. Bueno. Esperando que deje de llover para salir a la calle. Ya sabe. Protégete, mi hermano. Bueno, mi gente, vamos a darle la bienvenida entonces. Let's welcome, please. With me is Ray Viera, live from his home studio, and also joining us, our second guest, Edwin Sánchez, live from his home studio. Señores, ambos, welcome to both of you. Thank you for joining me on this Sunday afternoon, fall of 2020, 22, I should say, 2020. I'm going back in time, 2022. And for me, it's an honor that you both have taken time to join us. So thank you. Muchas gracias, ambos, Ray y Edwin.
Gracias
Bienvenidos
a
al
ti,
programa Con Salsa.
Thank you.
Gracias a ti.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to be
It's
here.
my pleasure as well.
Felicidades, primero antes que nada, por la nueva propuesta musical, que es tu cuarta propuesta como solista. This is your fourth CD or recording as a solo artist. You have a long trajectory with Johnny Pacheco and other artists who you've been performed with. In the past, I had the chance of seeing you perform with Eddie Palmieri at the Newport Jazz Festival when you were playing. Germán was the lead singer. You were singing coro at that time.
Sí.
But you've performed with many of the illustrious musicians. We want to get into the album in particular. We want to get into the other recordings you've done, and especially, Edwin, I want to get into how you two collaborate and how you two got together. But we need some background because not everyone who's watching the show knows who you are, Ray, or who you are, Edwin. Así que un poco de trasfondo de quiénes son ustedes en el sentido de su vida personal. Ray, ¿dónde tú naces y cuándo naces? Y te hago la pregunta de cuándo naces para tener contexto de qué estaba pasando musicalmente, socialmente, culturalmente y políticamente cuando tú naces y te crías. Igual para ti, Edwin, la pregunta, pero comenzamos con Ray.
Pues yo nací en Río Piedras, Puerto Rico, en el centro médico, en el 1969, para noviembre. Entonces, pues, ¿quieres que hable en inglés o español? Which one you prefer?
You start off in Spanish and then you go into English and then you go back. Don't worry about it.
Entonces, pues, los primeros 11 años viví en Puerto Rico. The first 11 years of my life, I lived in Puerto Rico. Y eso fue durante el boom salsero que estaba pasando en ese momento. Y entonces pude escuchar todos esos discos que estaban sonando. Bueno, ya cuando empecé a tener uso de razón, escuchar todos esos discos de la Fania que salían, sin pensar que en el futuro iba a estar tocando con el fundador de todo eso. Y después llegué a Filadelfia después de los 11 años. You know, I went to Philly after, you know, when I was 11, and finished growing up there.
So before we go into the chapter of you in Philly, in Rio Piedras, you're listening to the music of the boom. That was the golden era of Fania Records and Salsa. What were your parents listening to? Your parents, what did they have at home? What were the sounds you were listening to at home?
Pues fíjate, well, I was living really in Trujillo Alto. I was born in Rio Piedras, but I never really lived there. You know, I was living in Trujillo Alto. It's like the suburbs. Más campesino para ese tiempo. It was more farms and stuff, you know.
It's become urbanized now.
Yeah, it's super developed
it's
now.
Very
it's like,
yeah, it's very residential.
Yeah, and from my mom is where I got the el sabor. You know, as far as the music, la salsa, la rumba, el baile. My dad was more into like ballads and a lot into soul because he was a Vietnam veteran, so he got into more American music during his stint in the Army. So he would listen to a lot of American music. So it was like both things at the same time, you know, depending who I was with, because they didn't last that long.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
But I was exposed to a lot of mucha salsa con mi mamá y con mi papá más otras cosas, you know.
Así que por un oído entraba la Fania y por el otro entraba Gordy and Motown and all this
that
sound
stuff.
coming
Yeah.
from this side. So
All that stuff.
you were getting a bicultural education when it came to
Yeah.
music. And do you remember when you got to Philly, cuando llegas a Filadelfia, ¿qué encuentras tú en el sentido de la música que estás escuchando? ¿Es lo mismo que escuchas en Puerto Rico? Y te hago la pregunta, porque en Puerto Rico obviamente se escucha el sonido de la música latina en el sentido de un Bobby Valentín, un Willy Rosario, el Gran Combo, Roberto Rovena, Cortijo, Maelo, Sonora Ponceña, esas bandas que eran bien reconocidas en Puerto Rico, Domingo Olivencia, pero también se escucha lo que venía de Nueva York, ¿no? Héctor Lavoe, etcétera, etcétera. Cuando llega a Filadelfia, entonces, ¿qué es el sonido que escuchas al llegar a Filadelfia?
Pues fíjate, cuando llegué a Filadelfia para esa época, Filadelfia tenía limitada radiodifusión de música tropical. Creo que había un show de Temple University los sábados y una que otra estación AM, pero no era algo mainstream, tú sabes, que no llegaba a las masas tanto. Quizás entre gente se intercambiaban música, pero no una cosa como en Nueva York, que tú tenías estaciones 24 hours a day or whatever. So, entonces estaba también entrando el merengue bien fuerte para esa época, porque eran los 80. El merengue estaba desplazando la salsa de la música que se estaba promoviendo mucho. Entonces, I got linked up more because I lived in North Philadelphia in a neighborhood that was mixed, African American and Puerto Rican. And most of the Puerto Rican kids that were there was second generation, so they were leaning more towards African American culture. Hip hop was starting out. Well, it was already there, you know. It was just really coming to the forefront, you know. So I was listening to a lot of African American music, you know. I would say more African American because, like I said, la salsa estaba cambiando. El boom había estado bajando un poco y estaba entrando más la salsa romántica. And so it was just, I was listening to other stuff.
So you were very much the product of that transition, and it was exemplified by the fact, or amplified, I should say, by the fact that you had moved from Puerto Rico to Philly. And it doesn't surprise me that your ears now started hearing what was happening at that time. That's why I always ask about the period of time. And then we're going to get back to you as far as then when you get back to hearing what we now call, you know, salsa dura and things of that nature. So, Edwin, before we get into how you and Ray hook up, where were you born and when were you born?
I was born in the 60s, right? And so, you know, I was born in Chicago, Illinois. And I grew up in a place called Humboldt Park. And y ahí se encontraba toda la música de, tú sabes, urbana, toda la música latina. You found it all in Humboldt Park, man. It's just a beautiful place to grow up. You know, I grew up with parents that were parents and uncles that were musical. My uncle, his name is Sammy Aguirre, played and recorded with Pijuan in Puerto Rico. You know,
Mm-hmm.
big trio artist. He passed away a few years ago. And my father, his name is Jose Sánchez, played trio music, and so él tocaba requinto, and he also worked with a company called Hammond Organ.
Mm.
So, you know, in my house, my brother, his name is Jose Sánchez Jr. He also played trumpet. He played keyboards. So we had music all around. My mother, you know, played a little bit of guitar too, you know, and so, you know, it was inevitable. I mean, I just grew up with all this passion, and you know, this area in Chicago, man, you just had, man, funk. You had house music. You had, oh man, just like, and I still feel it, man. Like
Jazz too, right?
when I'm arranging, that just comes out of my pores, man. You know, and so you know, it was just a great place to be born and to be raised, and
Well, you were in the epicenter of the Puerto Rican community because Humboldt Park, Paseo Boricua de Bandera a Bandera. If anybody has been to Chicago, you've got to go to Paseo Boricua de Bandera a Bandera, starting off with Roberto Clemente High School and keep on walking all the way. And you feel the pride of being a Puerto Rican when you're in Chicago, especially in Humboldt Park area. And Ray was mentioning jazz because jazz was very much part of what you were listening to in Chicago. If there was one city that had all kinds of music other than New York, it was Chicago, because you had the blues, you had the jazz, and you had everything else in between. And that was a rich moment to be in Chicago because you were in the 60s, so you were very much part of the time period in which we had the original Young Lords that were created in Chicago and then became the Young Lords of New York. But it was Chicago that was the hotbed for a lot of the social political movements of Puerto Ricans and Mexican Americans there in the 60s, that in conjunction with, of course, the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, and things of that nature. And so you had this musical home, mom, dad, Hammond organ. Did you have a Hammond organ at home? Did they bring one of those big Hammond organs home?
Well, my father was a tech, so, you know, se traía los pedazos que sobraban, yo, and he had a full-fledged double, you know, a double tier organ, man, and that's what I learned on, you know.
The B2. Charlie Palmieri playing organ, Jimmy Smith playing organ, Joey Francisco playing organ, all those great organ players. That's great music. Oh, fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. So you were raised in Chicago and you got all your musical training in Chicago. Did you go to any formal training of music, or was this innate and you heard it at home?
Formal training, you know, I started very early, man. And so like very early on, my brother played. He, you know, he had bands that he was playing with, and I used to go and just check out the charts. You know, that's how I taught myself, man. And so I used to just, you know, study harmonies and stuff like that. I didn't get any formal training per se, but I did get private training for a while, you know, in Evanston, Chicago, and you know, in high school and stuff like that, but not in college. I studied business marketing in college.
Business marketing, smart man, but you know, music is always in your heart.
It was there already.
Ray, en el caso tuyo, escuchas música en tu casa, en la radio, obviamente cuando llegas a Filadelfia, diferentes tonos, diferente tiempo en lo que se está escuchando en la radio. ¿Y cuándo es que tú haces el giro que la música entonces se convierte en quien tú eres como persona?
Pues siempre escuchaba música y siempre me gustó la música. No sabía en sí que yo iba a ser músico yo mismo. Fue algo que por accidente pasó, más o menos. Pero tuve high school y todo lo demás, entró a la Fuerza Aérea. Cuando salgo, siempre cantaba y siempre estaba haciendo monería, bailando. I used to break dance and all that stuff. But anyway, cuando salgo de la Fuerza Aérea, estoy con unos panas míos. Hay una sección de Filadelfia que se llama Hunting Park. Y había un parque donde se juntaba la gente a hacer barbecue o lo que sea. Entonces, debajo de un árbol hay unos rumberos rumbeando. Y los panas míos que sabían que siempre me pasaba cantando, me decían, Ray, métete ahí, porque estaban rumbeando y they were jamming, you know. So, tenía 2 o 3 cervezas encima y tú sabes que eso le da, what they call it, liquid courage. So me meto and I do it, right? And it seems to be kind of innate. And so as soon as the jam finished, me dicen, ¿con quién uno de los músicos me dice, ¿tú tocas con alguien? O tú cantas. Yo les, no, I'm just hanging out, estoy hangueando. Pues mira, el miércoles tenemos ensayo en tal sitio, ven para que pase. Y así mismo empezó todo. Empecé a trabajar con las bandas locales, poquito a poco, hasta que toqué básicamente con casi todas las bandas locales que existían en ese momento.
En Filadelfia, uno de los ángeles vivientes, el gran Ángel Papo Vázquez. ¿Tuviste la oportunidad de conocerlo en Filadelfia antes de que él fuera a Nueva York con Willie Colón y con Jerry González, For the Apache Band y todo lo demás?
Lo conocí en Nueva York, ya cuando estaba aquí en Nueva York trabajando con las bandas.
Y cuando tú te retiras de la Fuerza Aérea, ¿fue? ¿O el ejército?
La Fuerza Aérea.
Fuerza Aérea. ¿Regresas a Filadelfia o llegas a Nueva York?
No, regreso a Filadelfia y no sabía qué hacer. Estaba un poco... That was my college, you know, no teníamos dinero para la universidad ni nada de eso. Pues me entré a la Fuerza Aérea después de high school y entonces pues estoy básicamente buscando, no sé qué voy a hacer con mi vida. Y así por accidente, o quizás no es por accidente, quizás porque Dios quería que fuera así, me tropiezo con esa situación en el parque y de ahí empieza el resto.
Así que ese momento en el cual la rumba te llama y tú cantas es lo que abre el camino para tú entrar de lleno en la música. ¿Y cuándo es que llegas a Nueva York y con quién empiezas a cantar?
Pues fíjate, en Filadelfia hice un demo con una orquesta que se llamaba Salsa, que era una de las orquestas de Filadelfia. Y fui miembro de esa orquesta por corto tiempo, porque después, la banda como que se rompió. Pero mientras estuve, hicimos un demo. Y para ese tiempo, la salsa que estaba sonando más en Filadelfia era la romanticona. Que es bonita y todo, pero como que yo no cabía en ese sistema, ¿no? Tú sabes, mi personalidad o lo que sea no encajaba en mi estilo de cantar, no lo sentía en sí mucho. Y entonces yo dije, tú sabes que yo voy a ir a Nueva York. Y para ese tiempo yo no tenía ni carro y cogí el tren desde 30th Street Station. Mi mamá siempre vivía en Jersey City, que es ahí al lado de Manhattan. So cogí de 30th Street Station hasta Newark y de Newark cogí un tren hasta Jersey City y llego a casa de mi mamá y le digo a un primo mío que es buena gente pero medio tostado. Y le dije, ¿me puedes llevar para Copacabana, mano? Yo te pago la entrada. Y él me dice, sí, está bien. Entonces vamos al Copacabana. Pero para ese tiempo tú tenías que estar...
Yeah.
They wouldn't let you in.
That's right. You need a suit and jacket or tie and jacket. Yeah.
Y yo fui con mi traje y él fue como que iba a mezclar cemento. Y entonces no lo dejaron entrar. Yo estuve viajando todo el día de Filadelfia para ir aquí y ahora yo no voy a regresar. Yo dije, primo, vete, yo me quedo aquí, llego a casa de mami como pueda.
Llego a pie.
Sí. Me quedo ahí y ¿quién resulta que está tocando? Johnny Pacheco. Y yo con mi cassette estoy viendo la banda and it was amazing, verlos en vivo. Y para ese tiempo pues Pacheco estaba pues su salud estaba bien y todo lo demás.
¿Quién tenía cantando? ¿Quién tenía él cantando en ese tiempo? ¿Era Peter Conde, Casanova? ¿Quién era?
El difunto Héctor Casanova.
Héctor Casanova.
Y esa banda estaba que cortaba y yo me quedé, yo tuve como almost like a out of body experience. Yo me paré en medio del salón y es como, ¿tú te acuerdas del comercial que tenían de los cassettes Memorex?
Yeah.
El tipo así y el pelo se le va... Pues así estaba yo.
So, from that first day that you saw Pacheco, little did you know that God's plan was this. cantando con el gran Pacheco de su último disco, Entre Amigos, la mujer del peso, con la voz de nuestro invitado, el gran Ray Viera. So that's the sound of Ray singing with Johnny Pacheco's last album, Entre Amigos. We've got some comments here before we continue our conversation. Saludos por aquí, tenemos comentarios. Vamos a ver por dónde empiezo. Nuestra amiga Elizabeth Swag en Florida te da saludos de bienvenida. Muchas gracias, Elizabeth. Juan Carlos también saludos. Nuestro gran amigo David allá en Las Vegas. Yes, rest in peace and in power. We're dedicating today's show to Artie, and later on I'm going to play something with him playing flute and Ray Barretto. Por aquí, Gia Fu, the great Gia Fu, who's tuning in, who has produced one of the great albums, and both of you know who she is. You know who she is, so you know how powerful she is in making this music alive and keeping it alive. Thank you, Gia. Marisol Santiago, the house in Chicago, Freestyle Club and House in Chicago.
House music all night long.
Bringing you memories there. Por aquí, someone is listening to Ray Viera. They want to know how to send you an album or send you some music. We'll give them my email, and then we can get it to you from there.
Okay.
Por aquí, yes, Artie Webb was born in Philly, Philadelphia. That's
North
true.
Philly.
We're going to talk about him. Good question, David. Por acá, desde Texas, thank you for your service, Ray. Another fellow retired veteran. So you got a fellow
Salud.
vet over there who's listening to the show, watching today. Entonces, Edwin, my man Ray is stranded at the Copacabana, having a out-of-body experience where he's seeing Johnny Pacheco with all the great musicians at that time, and his cousin, era primo, ¿no?
Mi primo.
Tu primo had to
hermano.
go back and hit. You
Yeah.
weren't even thinking about how much it cost, how long it would take, where you had to go. You were just like, I'm staying.
This before cell phone. Bueno, habían cell phone, pero eran del tamaño de una mochila.
Así que tú dijiste, aquí yo me quedo en la Copacabana hasta las
I might have
5.
to swim across the Hudson.
Hasta que me voten. Edwin, so this is happening in Ray's life. You're in Chicago. When is it you make a turn from Chicago to the East Coast, New York or Pacific?
Man, I'll never forget it. You know, we were working with this artist in Chicago. His name is Jesus Enriquez, Mexicano cantante de salsa. And, you know, and he was being produced by, at the time, you know, Sergio was working with RMM, you know. They were signing a bunch of artists, and he happened to be one, and we were producing them in Chicago. And so, you know, we ended up doing that record, and we got an invitation from Sergio to work on some stuff, you know, and and so I was able to come out to New York, worked with a new label that Sergio George was doing at the time, and you know, we worked with on Frankie Negron's new album. We worked this guy named de Nietzsche,
Charlie
Cruz.
Cajar.
No, Charlie Cruz.
Charlie Cruz.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Lee Damon. I mean, so many DLG. We worked on a lot of different stuff, and so, you know, we were just basically you know, producing. It was a partner of mine. His name is Michael Rivera. Both of us being from Chicago went out there and did that. And so de ahí abrieron mucha puerta. I met Chino Núñez. You know, he was on some of the sessions that we were doing. And at the time, he was MDing Rey Sepúlveda's band, and so he invited me to do some gigs with them. Después de eso, you know, a lot of things just opened up for me. You know, I started doing a whole bunch of recordings. You know, just expand out. You know, and so. You know,
the door, you had the key. Sergio George helped you open the door, and once that door opened, everybody was like, who is this kid? Come on, you're part of the work. Johnny Dandy Rodriguez is in New York right now. He's listening to the show. He says hello to you, Ray Viera. Johnny Dandy Rodriguez, who's been very busy. And
That's
Dandy,
right.
I played the 2 cuts from the Conga Head session. I played them last weekend. I love them. Fantastic. Doug and you all did a great job of remastering that, and I'm looking forward to your album, brother. And once that comes out, you know what we're going to do. We're going to have a conversation. John Danny Rodriguez, he's got a new CD coming out soon. Y él también te dice saludos a ti, Edwin, de parte de Johnny Danny Rodriguez.
Un abrazo bien fuerte.
El legendario, el legendario. Listen to this. From the album Zambumbia Radioactiva, the song Casanova y Son, written by Ray Viera. On the 3, sounding good, Luisito Rodríguez.
La campana que baila,
Georgie González.
Jorge González. Repica.
So how is it then that Ray, who's just getting to New York, falls in love with the fact that he gets to see his first performance of Johnny Pacheco, and you're working with Sergio George and all the stars that you mentioned. Ray, when is it then that you start performing live with Pacheco, whoever it was, and then when is it that you and Edwin hook up? Let's start off with after you meet Pacheco for that first time.
Yes, so that night at the Copa, I had that demo with me. I just took it with me, and I had the gumption to go up to Pacheco, and I said, yo canto. Y le di el cassette. And he was very nice. Y yo le dije, bueno, si tú quieres, yo me atrevo a cantar ahora mismo. And he goes, that's not necessary. You know, como él hablaba. Entonces, pero le di el cassette con mi número, y a las 3 semanas me llama porque iban a hacer una grabación con un señor de Connecticut que se llama Giovanni Díaz. Y él necesitaba un cantante para esa grabación, y Pacheco me llevó a esa grabación y grabé como 3 o 4 temas. Pero mientras estábamos haciendo esa grabación, él me dice, tú te vienes para mi grupo. Y yo dije, ok. Y después regresé a Filadelfia, y no fue rápido. Fue como pasaron varios meses después que me dijo que me iba. Y de momento me llama otra vez, mira, te necesito para tal fecha. Y de allá para adelante pues seguí ahí en el grupo.
Amazing what a cassette will do.
Yeah.
People don't realize. Speaking about cassette, speaking about Pacheco.
El zorro de plata.
Yeah, I get goosebumps just hearing that stuff. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, my 2 guests are Ray Viera, Edwin Sánchez. They have a new CD out titled Pacheco-landia. You just heard a song dedicated to great Hector Casanova. So when you started singing with Pacheco, you were singing chorus or you were singing lead? And was Casanova with them at that time?
Sí, Casanova was with him, and I just started with the choros at first, and then eventually I got like a song, and then maybe another song, you know. But it was gradual. But I started with the choros at first. Yeah.
And what do you think prepared you to be ready to sing with Pacheco and sing next to Casanova? And by that, the question is not just what you were listening to when you were younger, but what were the singers, who were the groups, the influence? Because remember, Pacheco was very traditional. Era son, era cubano. It wasn't, no era Bobby Valentín, no era el cano. It was very hardcore.
No, todavía me recuerdo cuando estaba empezando, y yo a veces cogía mi limazo, y Casanova me dice, con su acento bien cubano, me dice, hacer esto no es una orquestica de salsa. Aquí tocamos son, me dijo. Y yo dije, oh, ok. Y me puse a estudiar. A mí, yo sabía lo que sabíamos todo, tú sabes, todo lo que hicieron en Fania, pero después me puse a rebuscar más a esos cantantes de antes, Miguelito Cuní, Roberto Fá, Cheo Marchetti, un montón de cantantes de los 50 especialmente. Me gustó mucho, no sé, como que me llama ese estilo de música. Y lo estudié, me puse a hacer, como dicen, my homework. I started doing homework, you know.
Johnny Dandy Rodríguez, reconocido, legendario, icónico, músico, percusionista. Todos sabemos que si yo voy por todos esos discos, cualquier disco que dice Fania, le doy la vuelta, percussion, conga, bongo, Johnny Dandy Rodríguez. I mean, I think his name appears more than anybody else that I have back here. And somebody who knew the sound of Pacheco, knew the sound of Fania very well, and obviously very, what's the word I want to use? Critical is not the name, but very particular
Yeah.
of making sure that whoever was on stage singing with Pacheco knew their stuff, right? It couldn't just be cualquier tipo, right? And so, cuando tú dices que tú recibías limazos, who were some of the folks that said to you, on the other hand, sigue ahí, you're doing it, brother, you're doing it?
Siempre era no solamente el limazo, era también el consejo. Tú sabes, porque si alguien te da un limazo, pero no te dice qué debes hacer para rectificar lo que estás haciendo, pues entonces tiene que...
No tiene valor, no tiene valor. Yeah, sí, no tiene valor.
Pero si alguien te dice, mira, afinca, como decía, afinca, lo decía, o lo que sea, pero después dice, porque si no, X cosa, entonces tú te pones a pensar y puedes incorporar eso y estudiarlo.
Es lo que se llama crítica constructiva, que
Exacto.
es una manera de que uno construye lo positivo basado en la crítica que le dan.
Exacto.
Y uno mejora su oficio, sea lo que sea. Sí. Edwin, en ese caso tuyo, trabajando con Sergio George, porque Sergio George tiene su estilo particular, también Sergio trabajó con Pacheco y trabajó con todos esos grandes, así que él entendía muy bien lo que era la música popular en ese entonces, ¿no? De la música afrocubana, la música afro-latina, la música afro-antillana, tropical, con el sonido de Nueva York, etcétera, etcétera. Tú como pianista y como arreglista, ¿qué tú traes a la mesa a ese tiempo? Y entonces, ¿cómo tú haces el giro para traer ese matiz tuyo a lo que es la música de Riviera?
Buena pregunta, brother, because, Sergio had his style. He's gold fingers, man. Like everything he touches, man. I just respect and admire him so much. I mean, I was in the perfect place at the perfect time, Tú sabes, Sergio, the only thing that we can do, right, is bring whatever we have wholeheartedly to the table. And Sergio, whatever he liked it. And whatever he didn't like, he would just scratch it up. It don't matter how long you took to write out all those charts. He would just scratch it up. And, and I'd be like, man, bro, but then you'd hear this incredible creation that took him like 5 minutes in the studio to just tataratear, and come up with just a hit song, We did so many things like that, and so but from that we learn, you know, and that's how I learned it. And you know, a lot of times we, you know, we try to patch things up and move forward, and that's what happened. But you know, all of those lessons stayed with me, and you know, working with Ray and you know and other artists, you know, I remember that. I remember the simplicity in his approach.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I also remember that, you know, the difference between Puerto Rico and New York. I mean, I was fixated on the style because I mean, I grew up urban. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was a different approach, and so you know, I just love that. I love New York, you know, and I was amongst people that just all my life, you know, I listened to, and so you know, it was just a moment that I learned. You know, I learned it, and Sergio is Sergio, and he was just amazing. So, but from that, you know, like I said, you know, we grew, and I was able to impart with a lot of those lessons, and some of that you know you hear in my arranging, you know, you hear in my creation. So I thank them for all that, you know, knowledge.
So there's two thoughts that come to mind. One is your arranging talent and creativity as an arranger, and the other is your piano style. We heard two piano solos there from the album Bang Bang and also Baila Vicente. Tell us who influenced that piano style that you have, and in particular when you start soloing. Who are some of the same way that Ray had to go back to school and really listen to some of those great Cuban singers? Who are some of the folks that you listen to, or at least you think may have played a role in how you play your piano?
Man, without question, Papa Luca. You know, that's my main man right there. You know, but honestly, in doing this project with Ray, you know, we both talked about it, and obviously the goal was to not get away from that Pacheco, you know, influence, that style, that groove, that momentum that he had in the songs. And so when I was soloing on these tunes, honestly, I was thinking more tres than piano, you know. And so, you know, because I wanted it to flow like that, and I wanted it to talk more than to be some kind of, you know, technical type of thing, you know. And so that's what I was reaching out for more. I wasn't thinking more about myself. I was really trying to capture that style of music, you know, and Ray could tell you more than I can how we approach that, you know what I mean? And so
that's a perfect segue, because I told you both offline before we started the show that, you know, Alex Díaz has done a great CD in tribute to Johnny Pacheco. El Canario has one in tribute to Johnny Pacheco, which I love both of them because they bring that sound of Johnny Pacheco. But yours has something very unique. Part of it, I believe, humbly, I share this with you and the audience, is the fact, Ray, that you spent so many years with Pacheco, in Pacheco's band, singing, knowing him, feeling him. So it's sort of like second nature. But I felt like in many ways, Edwin sort of like said it, maybe Pacheco was in the studio with you while you were doing this, even though you couldn't see him, you could feel him, and he was directing you and telling you and in your ear, because it sounds like that. It's got that feel, man. So, you know, you sit there and you go, Pacheco, Pacheco, Pacheco,
Yeah.
Pacheco. So tell us about that.
Pues a mí fue tan de corazón, porque yo no estaba, y Edwin te lo puede confirmar, yo no estaba pensando en grabar. No tenía eso grabar porque no sé, no tenía pero cuando él falleció y empecé a revivir todo it's like you have un momento que tú vas viviendo todo lo que aconteció, el proceso y la persona tan importante que fue en mi vida, que me cambió mi vida. Es como revivir una película, y entonces yo dije, escribí unos versos que se convirtió en lo que es PachecoLandia. Y entonces yo le digo a Edwin, y Edwin por mucho tiempo me decía, Ray, tienes que grabar, porque yo no estaba grabando ni nada, pues. Y él insistía de vez cuando hablábamos, tú tienes que hacer algo, man, tienes que grabar algo. Y cuando escribí eso de PachecoLandia, yo le dije, Edwin, vamos a hacer algo. Y Edwin, como siempre, una persona tan servicial, me dijo, vamos para encima.
Bueno, vamos a escuchar un poco de Radiolandia, porque esto es lo que da el sentido de Pacheco. Oigan. hasta el coro. Ay, mi gente, Ray Viera, Edwin Sánchez, mis invitados para esta tarde. Por aquí vamos a los comentarios y preguntas por acá. Saludos. Alfredo Lozada desde Venezuela, salud para ti. Desde California, saludos. Manuel Castillo Freite te dan saludos. Nuestro amigo Eduardo Olivia ya en Perú dice: hola José, un gusto verte de nuevo on air. Un saludo desde Perú a Edwin Sánchez y en especial para mi hermanito Ray Viera. Felicidades saludos, por Pacheco-landia, homenaje a su padre musical. Que Rey también nos comente. Sí, vamos a hablar sobre eso. Muchas gracias, Eduardo.
Tremendo,
y por
él
acá,
es periodista en Perú.
Sí, uno de los buenos. Los melómanos de Perú son una cosa muy especial, clase aparte. The album sounds so much like Pacheco, brutal. His influence is seriously all over this recording, dice Wilfredo Osorio. De acuerdo.
Gracias.
Yvette dice, José, how are you? I am blessed that I am here with you, Yvette. Thank you for tuning in. Rafael por acá dice, se consiguen CD, de eso vamos a hablar. Lori dice, if you close your eyes, you can hear Pacheco. Well done, Ray and Edwin. It's true.
Gracias.
Oigan. Casi nada, oigan, Rey Martínez en el bajo, Jorge González en el bongo,
la campana que baila,
Willy Romero en las congas,
Willy Romero, mi brother.
Alex Norris, trompetas, Ozzy Meléndez, trombones,
Tremendo.
En la canción Guido Macorina, Víctor Ortiz, en los violines, Adriana Viera, quien también figura en el coro junto a Stephanie Viera, Reina Viera, Jesse Agudelo. Oigan, arreglo de Edwin Sánchez.
¿Cuál es el refrán que el maestro usa? Té de café con dos de azúcar. Recuerda, son té de café, dos de azúcar. Té de café con dos de azúcar. Saca el azúcar que tengo, refrán permanente que nunca caduca. Té de café con dos de azúcar. Mira, fue encendido como una bazooka. Té de café con dos de azúcar. Y la Catalina que se come un guayabé. Té de café con dos de azúcar. Es un lugar.
Hay que bailar. Pacheco-landia, aquí en el programa con salsa. Qué alegría, qué sabor. Edwin, te felicito porque cuando mencionas el hecho que los solos tenían en mente no el piano, sino el sonido del 3 y se escucha en ese solo. O sea, eso pudo haber bien sido el 3 de Charlie Rodríguez acompañando a Pacheco. Hay preguntas sobre esta propuesta en el sentido de que obviamente los melómanos como Eduardo y otros quieren saber cómo conseguir en CD en vez de solamente digital. Y yo también, como tú bien sabes, ya ves 5,000 y pico de discos vinil. ¿Cómo se consigue entonces lo físico? O si tienes planes de, por lo menos, compartir un disco compacto de esta propuesta PachecoLandia.
Pues por ahora está en digital, en las plataformas. Y el plan es sacarlo en vinilo. Ya como para principios del 2023, porque ahora mismo pues las plantas que la hacen
Están atrasadas.
Están bien atrasadas, pero para principios del 2023, si Dios quiere, está en vinilo, en formato de vinilo.
Bueno, estaremos esperando. Y también si tiene algún CD para continuar, ya tengo 3, me hace falta entonces, ¿qué falta? Antes de continuar sobre lo de Pacheco-landia y tu experiencia con Pacheco, la pregunta que hace Eduardo, porque también tú tienes la experiencia de cantar con otros grupos, ¿cómo es que entonces tú formas parte de esas propuestas del gran Eddie Palmieri, donde tú cantas coro en varias de las canciones?
Pues mi hermanazo, Germán Olivera, ellos iban a grabar La Perfecta 2. que era como... estaban regrabando muchos de los éxitos que Eddie tuvo en los 60 con la perfecta original. Y entonces me llevó a la grabación porque necesitaban a alguien para que grabara los coros. Entonces yo grabé los coros en el estudio. Y entonces recuerdo que grabamos los coros y creo que justo el mismo día teníamos que tocar en el Birdland. Así, friendo y comiendo, como dicen en Puerto Rico. Y tuve que ir a hacer los coros y estuve trabajando con ellos por varios años.
Sí.
Ahí haciéndole los coros a Germán mientras cantaba con Palmieri. Y fue también otra escuela, tú sabes.
Claro, claro. Esa foto que viene, dicho sea de paso, de la página de Facebook de Ray. Ustedes ven a Ray cantando, Jorge González, la campana que baila en el bongo, Héctor Casanova, Johnny Pacheco, Germán Olivera, en esa foto en la cual están compartiendo en tarima. Y también el Tumbao, Johnny Pacheco y su Tumbao. Si ven atrás, en el medio van a ver allá a Germán Olivera con el grupo de Johnny Pacheco y su Tumbao, Ray Viera a su derecha en el traje. Y obviamente los otros miembros de la agrupación. Entonces, grabas y tocas con Palmieri, que fue otra escuela. ¿Qué nos puedes decir que de la experiencia tuya con Palmieri? Tienes a Pacheco como escuela, ahora tienes a Palmieri como escuela. ¿Qué experiencia, qué es lo que tú te llevas de tu experiencia con Palmieri, tanto en la grabación, sino también en vivo?
Pues fíjate, son como dos lados de la misma moneda. Porque ambos están bien amarrados con lo que es el son, ¿verdad? Y la rumba y lo demás, esos ritmos afrocubanos. Pero Pacheco era un poquito más estricto y más típico en cierto punto. Palmieri era más experimental. Pero también tenía que tocar bien, tú sabes, hacer las cosas bien, pero había un poquito más de experimentación en el estilo de Palmieri. Eran dos diferentes cosas, más disciplina en un lado y más experimentación en otra.
Sí, esa palabra es buena, experimental y libre y disciplinado también, pero también ambos tienen el afinque, tienen el son, lo tienen bien.
El ritmo tenía que estar amarrado.
It was tight, bien amarrado. Sí. Eso no se soltaba, era bien amarrado y siempre tenían ambos, tienen todavía Palmieri, percusión de primera categoría. O sea que la percusión siempre estaba, that was the anchor and they were always in the pocket, always in the pocket, always in the pocket. Edwin, cuando tú entras al estudio para esta propuesta, ya tú tienes tiempo trabajando con nuestro amigo Ray, porque ustedes trabajaron, vamos a ver, mira la trayectoria. Aquí está Ray, ese joven que ustedes ven ahí, su primera propuesta como solista, Ray Viera. Lo mío es cantar, Mujer de Nadie, Amor de la Calle, Borinquen y Cubancán, Corazón Cerrado, Vida Loca, Engaños, Vamos a Darnos Tiempo. Luego, muchas personas entonces se dan de cuenta quién es él con esta propuesta musical, Tumbao, donde de nuevo, y tiene una combinación de arreglos José Madera, Edwin Sánchez, José Madera, Luis Cruz, Edwin Sánchez, Marty Scheller, Luis Cruz, Richard Viera, Mr. de Guataca. You're not talking about softball here. We're talking about major league. This is like World Series as far as who you have as a Ranger. And Edwin is part of this whole.
No pressure.
No pressure. And then we get to the one that we've been sharing, which is this one here, Sambumbia Radioactiva, which again showcases your arranging. So when you and Ray get together, do you remember how it was that you met Ray and how you decided that maybe there was a chemistry there between you two?
And when I first met Ray, I don't know what it was. It was, souls sometimes speak to each other, man. And we just hit it off,
Yeah, that's my brother, man.
Since that day, that's my brother, and we could probably not do music for the rest of our lives, but we will still be interconnected because we just a lot alike and we just somos personalidades que you know, somos iguales. Entonces, but as you have it, we are artists and we are musicians, and so we have that in common. And we found out that we had a lot more in common in that, you know, Ray has a certain style that is unlike a lot of different singers that I work with, you know. And so I listened to him, you know. It wasn't like I was trying to fit him to my style of arranging. You know, I was listening to him, and he appreciated that, and I was sort of molding, you know, what he wanted, you know. And so I think that was something that made us, you know, branch out into these styles like the previous albums that we did. There were trombone arrangements, you know, something that I really didn't do much before, you know, just a trombone horn section. And so, but I had a lot of fun because we just, you know, we were able to do exactly what he wanted, and I could see him light up. You know, you got to think about, as an arranger, your biggest compliment, right, is to see the joy of the singer that you're arranging for. You know what I mean? And so I kind of started feeling that, and so, you know, just one thing led to the other, and here we are on what, third album. You know,
this is the fourth that you produced, the third one. And Ray, you know, I mentioned the arrangers in that particular album, right? In this one here, because you had some great arrangers. Look at this: Jose Madera, Edwin, obviously. Jose did a few. Luis Cruz, and Marty Scheller. I mean, you were talking about major league. You have major league arrangers in that particular album, and I think they all contributed to making it. And that's why many of us heard about you, right? This was the album that made us. We heard you, right? You had the album, so we said, "Wait a minute, where did this guy come from?" Then we found out about the previous album. Then, of course, we were looking forward to the next album. But this was the one that basically opened the door for us to hear you as a solo artist, no, not just with Pacheco, but you and Edwin. Because I'll repeat what I said in the beginning of the program. When I invited you, you immediately said, "Yes, but Edwin Sánchez has to be with me on the show because I am not who I am if it weren't for." Edwin being part of this. So what is it that Edwin brings to who you are as a singer and composer to your work?
Well, the thing that Edwin has is it's several things. Number one, the versatility. He can go from lo más tradicional to the most experimental, and it sounds always, como quien dice, rooted in the truth. You know, it's not trying to be traditional. It's not trying to be experimental. It's traditional, or it's, I mean, él tiene esa versatilidad. Encima de eso, he would listen to whatever my vision of a thing is, and it's almost like he's reading my mind, because he would just take it, and then he would take it to another level. He would take my little, you know, vague idea and just make it into a finished musical piece. Que a mucha gente no tienen esa habilidad. I mean, there's a lot of great arrangers,
Yep.
but they got to stay within certain norms. Maybe it's hard for them to adapt to a particular artist. Pero no, Edwin, él se adapta al que sea. You know, he's just got that ability, que eso es un don. Tú tienes que nacer con eso. No se aprende en la escuela.
No, es así, pero ustedes dos hacen un binomio bien especial. Y oigan esta canción antes de continuar con los comentarios y las preguntas. Escuchemos de la nueva propuesta musical. Here's from the new one. This one's titled Llora como yo lloré. Arreglo de Edwin Sánchez, Llora como yo lloré. So I'm putting up the cover for the CD. There's a good question that comes from our friend Lorig. She says, what is it? The album cover has a roller coaster. Can you explain the design and the artist behind it? Gracias.
Pues, yo no sé si tú escuchaste, había un sitio cuando era chiquito en Puerto Rico que se llamaba Felicilandia.
Ajá.
Y era como it was an amusement park for little kids, you know. Y yo iba, y llegué a ir ahí como 2 veces. Cuando era chiquito, yo no estaba ni en la escuela. Y entonces yo pensé que cuando yo estuve, el tiempo que estuve con Pacheco, it was always fun to play with that band. I never had, I mean, we could miss a flight. We were traveling. And you know, with some other bands, you miss a flight, everybody's cranky. No, it was always fun. Nos reíamos. Y el tipo era comiquísimo. And we just had a blast. So it was always like, when we were on like tour, it was never work. So it was like going to, so yo dije, me acordé de eso, de Felicilandia, y de contra. Being with Pacheco was like being in an amusement park, because it was always an adventure, and it was always fun. I think you could ask some of the other guys, like Jorge Gonzalez and them, and they could tell you the same thing. So, me vino esa idea de hacer como un amusement park, pero PachecoLandia en vez de Felicilandia. Entonces, se lo dije al artista y he came up with that.
Well, you hit it on the nose, because Pacheco is well known for being a jokester and for always having a sense of humor. He had a cigar, of course, and he was just the life of the party, but he was charismatic, which was the other thing,
yeah.
right? When he walked in anywhere, he was charismatic. He was handsome. Mary Kent, our dear friend, this is a photo from her book, Salsa Talks, and you see how handsome, charismatic he was all the time. And when he was on stage, you knew it was Pacheco leading whomever it was. It could be the Fania All-Stars, it could be with Celia, it could be whomever, and that was the great Johnny Pacheco. And there's another comment here, another question that comes from a percussionist who is David Romero. Do either of you play percussion? If so, has it contributed to your musicality? Let me start off with Edwin, and then I'll go to you, Ray. Edwin, Have you played percussion at all?
No, I don't play percussion, because I always played, piano, but I play piano percussively.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love percussion, and all of my arranging and piano playing, I feel like a percussionist. I just never played percussion per se, and so, but I love percussion, and it's all up inside of me, Maybe I'm a percussionist.
You're like Palmieri, a frustrated timbalero who wanted to be a timbalero, wound up being a pianist. So when he plays the piano, he's playing timbales. But yes, percussion is very much part of it. How about you, Ray? You're great. When it comes, David, when it comes to la maracas, hire him. David, hire Ray. He'll play the maracas. He's doing a great job. But how about percussion, Ray?
Sí, minor percussion, el güiro, maracas, clave. Toco un poquito de conga y un poquito de bongo. A veces, cuando compongo, y Edwin could attest to this, I would send Edwin, like, just my voice with a conga behind it, and I'm playing with some of the songs I would write. Pero no una cosa que digamos, no un gran percusionista de conga y bongo, pero un poquito de conga y bongo.
Un poquito. All right. Well, I'll take that as yes.
Yeah, honestly, bro, the way you play maracas and güiro, bro, and when I'm talking about like when you play with Pacheco, I heard some stuff that's nasty, Ray, bro.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Dancing at the same time, like I don't know.
No. Ahora no. I gotta get a pacemaker. Tú sabes esas canciones de Pacheco que iban a las millas y yo con el güiro, muchacho.
No. Con Pacheco, cada instrumento, el güiro especialmente y la maraca, sumamente importante el sonido que le daba al tumbao de Pacheco. Así que esa persona, si no era Pacheco, tenía que ser una persona que sabía cómo hacerlo bien. Por aquí, Marisol Santiago, aplauso de parte de ella. Nuestro gran amigo y hermano Marco Vilar allá en Florida dice, José, always great to see you and share your music. Gracias, Marco, te quiero mucho. I hope everybody's okay down in Florida where you are. Por aquí alguien dice, tremendo show, saludos a todos, especialmente a mi tocayo Ray Viera. Eso viene parte de esa persona. Y por aquí David dice, I love the chorus of the old school Pacheco nasal. Yeah. I was going to say that. You got that down. El sonido del coro está a la perfecta de lo que es Pacheco. Y cuando pensamos hoy en día del legado de Pacheco, Rey, ¿qué tú dirías que es el legado? ¿Qué es lo que deja Pacheco para siempre, para cada persona que sepa lo que es la música nuestra?
Pues fíjate, yo diría la visión que él tuvo al formar lo que fue Fania.
Ujú.
Imagínate un mundo si no hubiera existido Fania.
Mhm.
Quiere decir que no hubiera existido un Héctor Lavoe, porque él fue que descubrió a Héctor Lavoe, o
Ujú.
a un Willy Colón, o toda esa gente que salió de ese sello. Él fue el visionario que inició, ese movimiento. Pues yo diría que la música latina existiera de cualquier forma, pero quizás no hubiera llegado a los rincones del mundo donde ha llegado por ese sello que él fundó, que
Ujú.
él fue el visionario y propulsor de ese movimiento.
Ujú, ujú. Y fíjate, Edwin, tú llegas a un momento donde continúa ese legado, pero en manos de otras personas, ¿no? RMM Records, Ralph
Yes.
Mercado Music, que también fue un visionario, no era el productor como Pacheco de estar en el estudio y producir, pero era el visionario que es también inteligente y dice, aquí hay un hombre que se llama Sergio George, pero ya Sergio tenía su línea por donde él iba y él dijo, no, yo voy por aquí y fíjate lo que hizo con Mark Anthony, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. Cuando tú piensas de un Pacheco, especialmente tú trabajando en este proyecto Pacheco-landia, and his legacy, what's going through your mind, Edwin, as you're putting this together and you're working with Ray?
Honestly, you have to have the respect for that time that Pacheco lived and what he did, and you got to put all of the stuff aside that became after him, because yeah, it's all great, pero you had to put that aside and pay tribute to the man that really created this style. I don't know, honestly, I don't know any other conjunto that had that particular style that Pacheco had. And so, it was just a work of art in that, you had to mold it with respect to what he was. And so, in that it was kind of easy because, you're following, the vibe, and me and Ray are very perceptive in that way. But I think that's what helped. I just, I said, hey, we're gonna listen to this. I mean, Ray used to drive me crazy, sending me, stuff, and I'm like, man, I can only listen to so much Pacheco, bro. But we put in the time. We put in the time, and we went through so much, material to really gather it. Now I used to go to the gym, put on, jog, and I'm listening to all this stuff, but it helped me in that I got to know him very well that way, and so that's
So
basically
that's another perfect segue. I'm thanking you for the segues you're giving me, Edwin, because they lead into where we want to go. So Ray, when you were putting this together, I mean, Pacheco has a repertoire. His portfolio is huge. You can,
Yeah,
you could do volume 1 through volume 25, and you're still not finished with what you.
yeah.
So how did you wind up picking the ones that you picked, including, of course, obviously you said I'm going to do a title song that's going to be dedicated to him, which is
Yeah.
Radio-landia. I mean Pacheco-landia. How did you decide what to pick? And before you answer that, think about it for a second. I want one of our dear friends, David Cantrell, who you know out there in Arizona, he says, love the Pacheco-landia album, a fitting tribute to Johnny Pacheco. And
Thank
there's
you.
somebody
Thank
who
you so
knows
much.
that. It would be David, our dear friend. David, thank you for your comment. So, yes, so how did you go through that
Pues,
whole repertoire and decide where you were going to land?
pues yo no, como yo dije antes, yo no pensaba grabar. I didn't think about recording for a long time. And when Pacheco passed, I wrote the verses that became Pacheco-landia, and I told Edwin, you know what, Edwin? I remember we were on the phone. I said, I think we're gonna record something. You want to do it with me? I would love for you to do uh, all the arrangements. And he was like, sure. Ese es mi hermano. Y me apoyó en esto sin titubear, como dicen. Entonces, then I started thinking, okay, what else can we put in there that will be, porque yo quería que fuera algo de corazón, no una cosa, con with ulterior motives, como dicen, right? So, me senté a escuchar todos los álbumes de Pacheco. Entonces hice una lista de canciones que quizás no recibieron tanta exposición que él había grabado en un momento. Porque yo sé, ¿quién va a superar Kimbara? Nadie. ¿Quién va a superar todos esos exitazos que él tuvo? So, yo quiero coger ciertas canciones que quizás no tuvieron la exposición en un momento y renovarla, pero con mucho respeto, Y así fue. Yo escuché yo no sé cuántos álbumes y después hice un playlist de las canciones que saqué y se la envié a Edwin. Eso es lo que se está refiriendo, que lo volví loco, porque eran como 40 canciones. Y entonces fui, como dicen, eliminando hasta que llegamos a eso.
Bueno, de las canciones, el Güiro de Macorina, obviamente, inclusive no lo estoy incluyendo en esta tarde, porque esa es una de las canciones icónicas, legendarias, el primer éxito grande de Pacheco. Pero cuando yo te llamé y te hablé, te dije, mira, acabo de escuchar el disco, te quiero decir que las canciones que de inmediato me dijeron, wow, fueron Baila Vicente y Ven y Ven.
Sí.
Que de nuevo son canciones que cuando uno se pone a pensar, no fueron canciones que yo diría, el público en general puede decir, ¿qué canción de Pacheco? Esa.
Ajá.
No son canciones así, pero sin embargo, el arreglo de Edwin, la interpretación tuya, la ejecución musical de los músicos, porque it's a killer, both of them. And then you have Ozzy killing it. It's just like, and it's got the Pacheco feel, because remember the thing about Pacheco, when we bailaba Pacheco, was like, you were always in that, you got in that groove, right? But then he would take it to the next level. Before you know it, you were taking off your jacket, putting it aside, and you're still there. And then you empieza a sudar, and it was because he was like, it was just like building until you were like, holy shout, man, I can't dance anymore. And that's what those two songs did for me, which was, in essence, what Pacheco would do. Yeah. And that's why they called my attention. So I think that you did a great job as far as te felicito en las canciones que son parte de la propuesta. Hablemos también, porque aquí en los créditos, y yo lo he mencionado, me escucharon decir los créditos. Voy a mencionar estos nombres, and I want you to expand on this, please. So we've got Adriana Viera on violins.
Esa es mi hija mayor, que está ahora mismo en Montclair State University estudiando composición musical, pero lo de ella es el jazz, pero ella misma toca un poco de piano, guitarra, violín, y canta. Y compone, pero le gusta el jazz, that's her thing, jazz, Entonces yo pues grabamos el tema y yo sentí que necesitaba algo. Pensaba en el 3, pero Edwin toca el piano de una forma tan llena que no hace falta 3. Sería como dicen, overkill. Entonces, yo dije, Adriana, ¿tú te atreves tocar violín? Y me dice, papi, pero yo ni tengo violín ya, Entonces conseguí un violín y ella lo grabó. Y tú sabes, yo le cantaba las partecitas y ella las pudo grabar. Y hizo un buen trabajo.
Es a family affair, porque entonces sí, aquí dice violín, Adriana Viera. Entonces dice aquí en el coro de Yo Quiero Morir Cantando. Oigan los nombres: Adriana Viera, Stephanie Viera, Reina Viera y Jessie Agudelo.
Sí, esas son mis 3 hijas y la primita de ella, que Edwin escogió ese tema, Yo Quiero Morir Cantando. Y entonces yo dije, aquí hacen falta unos ángeles. En la versión original no hay nada de eso, pero yo dije, está hablando de alguien que quiere morir cantando. ¿Y qué pasa cuando uno muere? Pues, bueno, si Dios quiere va para el cielo. Entonces, hay una parte donde el coro hacía esa frase. Y yo dije, pero yo no lo quiero hacer como hicieron original. Y ella la puse ahí y le dieron ese toque, hicieron el coro.
Le quedó más que bien. Vamos
Sí.
a regresar a los comentarios. Aquí Johnny Dandy, que yo he dicho, legendario,
Sí, es
tocado
tremendo.
100, 200, 300, 400 discos, grabó con la Fania, con Pacheco, etcétera, etcétera, pero nos hace pensar de nuevo para que tengamos todo en contexto. Oigan lo que él
Sí.
dice para que todo el mundo no se olvide esto y aquellos melómanos que estén viendo. Él dice, Pacheco was Pacheco way before Fania. His recordings for Alegre Records were big hits like Cuyuye. His charanga was as good as a Cuban charanga. Then he makes conjunto albums that were great. Johnny was a very special person. That he was.
Yes,
And then he
indeed.
says here,
I agree.
during the Pachanga days, he was super hot with his charanga. I will tell
That's
you,
right.
Johnny Dandy Rodriguez, I was 10 years old. My father took the family to New York for summer vacation. Two things occurred. 1960. I turned 11 in August. This was end of June, beginning of July. The first thing he did was he took us to Yankee Stadium to see the Yankees play against the Washington Senators. Remember them? And for the Yankees, it was Whitey Ford pitching. Tita Arroyo was the relief pitcher. Mickey Mantle hit it inside the ballpark home run.
Wow.
And I still have the tickets. I have the tickets for the games. I got the tickets. I got the
Historic.
program. I have the program. I've got the tickets, the whole 9 yards. That was experience number one. Experience number two, by the time I got back to San Juan, Puerto Rico, I knew how to dance pachanga because Pacheco was so hot everywhere. Everywhere we went in New York, I mean, my parents would take us to homes and parties and all that kind. There were house parties.
Yeah.
Lo que estaba sonando era Pacheco. And everybody was, dancing.
Sí, sí.
You
Creo
dance
que
pachanga.
I think his first, el primer disco que él hizo con la charanga vendió más de 100,000 copias.
Sí, fue un tremendo éxito. I think that's how he invested to do Fania, matter of fact. But you were right, Johnny Dandy Rodriguez, the Pachanga days, that was
Sí.
Pacheco that made that so
Sí.
popular and around the world because he was
No, of
loved
course.
in Africa.
course.
They adored who Pacheco was.
Yeah.
And speaking about the world, when you traveled with Pacheco on the flights that were on time that got you to where you needed to get to, ¿cómo era el recibimiento en esos países? Por América, si fuiste a América Latina, al Caribe, donde fuiste con Pacheco. Hablemos un poco
Oh,
sobre esa experiencia.
A mí le caí, salía las masas detrás de él a recibirlo. Era como, tú sabes, en la película Our Latin Thing,
Ujú.
que él está con la flauta caminando y los niños lo van siguiendo. Pues así mismo era donde quiera que iba. Tú sabes, pero obviamente no niños, sino sus fanáticos en esos sitios. They will mob him, wherever he went. That's the way it was. I remember we went to the most, it was a magical experience. We went to Africa.
Ujú.
Fuimos a Ivory Coast. Entonces nos llevaron para una aldea. Entonces, they said, okay, you guys got to get out of the cars. Pero ya para este tiempo él estaba un poquito mayorcito. So él no podía caminar. So él iba en el carro como a 5 millas por hora y nosotros caminando detrás. Y la cosa es que era de noche. La luna, because it's close to the equator, parecía que estaba encima de ti como una bombilla.
Ujú.
Y entonces salen la gente de sus cabañas y de sus casas y empiezan Pacheco, Pacheco. Una cosa que se me paran los pelos. Entonces nos llevaron como a un centro de la comunidad y lo coronaron como si fuera jefe de esa comunidad. And I remember they were giving us some kind of liquor. I don't know what and but it was a magical moment, That was, I think, the one that stuck in my head the most.
That's amazing. And it doesn't surprise me. Musicians, it's amazing the impact that musicians have as ambassadors, if you will, around the world in bringing any type of music to another part of the world, but in particular connecting people through the music. And our music, of course, is connected to Africa because of the roots, but it's
absolutely.
amazing how much respect and musicians would receive from these places. I've told the story that in my case, the first time I heard real music, live music, I was a kid. I was like 5 going to 6 years old. I heard Pérez Prado and his band in Japan, of all places.
Wow.
Y le digo una cosa, la audiencia, la mayoría eran japoneses, seguidos por militares del ejército de los Estados Unidos. They were dressed in their uniforms, right?
Sí.
But the majority were Japanese. Listening to Pérez Prado, who would have thought about that? But that moment for me that was where the light bulb hit, because I saw that on stage where he had his band of Afro-Cubans. He had American musicians as well, African-Americans. He had dancers with him. And then the music he was playing was like, right?
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
1956, and I'm in Japan. And to think that in Japan, this music was like as popular as it was tells you how our music plays a way of bridging the gap, which brings us to the next song we're going to hear. There's a song you recorded. Hay una canción del disco Zambumbia Radioactiva. Se titula Todos Somos Latinos. Pero antes de comentar sobre esa canción, en la dedicatoria que tú haces del disco, tú haces lo siguiente. Tú dices lo siguiente en inglés. I dedicate this recording to el maestro y mi papá musical, the legendary Johnny Pacheco. Thank you for all your love and support and for opening the doors to help me realize my dreams. Tu hijo postizo, Ray Viera.
Yep, así mismo fue.
And that was here.
Yep. Y ahí él grabó his last known recording that I know of that he played flute was in that album, in that solo he did for Casanova. No, I mean he changed my life. Like, look, he taught me so much. As a matter of fact, my wife, who's the mother of my children, I met because he sent me somewhere to do coro for, I don't know if you remember this group, Alquimia. It was a Colombian group.
Yeah.
So that él le bautizó el hijo a uno de los gemelos.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent me with some other musicians del grupo to back them up in a Colombian festival, Independence Day. And I met my wife. I mean, I didn't know she was going to be my wife, but I met her. My life changed. It was almost like, you know, you're a pinball, and you're in a pinball machine, and you hit, boom, and then everything changes. That's how it was.
Copacabana, thank you very much for opening my life. That's the way you said
That's it.
So the song in the background that we're listening to, oigan esta canción.
De corazón, porque andamos el mismo camino, compatriotas de corazón.
Todos somos latinos. Hablemos un poco sobre tú como boricua que llegas a Filadelfia, que llegas a Nueva York, que fuiste parte del ejército, de la Fuerza Armada Aéreas de los Estados Unidos, que llegas a componer esta canción que todos somos latinos.
Pues sí, las experiencias que yo he tenido en mi vida, conocí gente de todas partes, gracias a Dios. Y en cuestión de los latinoamericanos, de todas partes de Latinoamérica. Y a veces veía ciertas divisiones que para mí son ficticias, son artificiales. Somos todos una gran nación. Que si nos vemos así y dejamos a veces la ignorancia que existe, que nos divide, somos una superpotencia. Culturalmente hablando, económicamente y de todas formas. Entonces, pues, me inspiré en esa experiencia y escribí esa canción diciendo, vamos a dejarnos de separación. Vamos a ser uno, un pueblo.
Y aquí viene Edwin Sánchez con un mensaje musical. sobrino de Edwin Sánchez. Todos somos latinos. Ah, ese no es tuyo.
José Madera.
José Madera.
Yes. That's the man right there.
Ahí entonces hay que darle crédito al tocayo porque tiene un sonido tan afincado. And those horns, I thought it was yours, but those horns are at a level, boy. Madera, but you know, Madera comes from that old school of his father being Madera. And he's another one that knows, as an artist, he knows how to paint those songs and make them the way they sound. Speaking about artists, hablando de artistas, por aquí tenemos un saludo desde Puerto Rico. El gran Pablo Padín dice, saludos José Amazon, un abrazo para ti también, Pablo, tu familia, tu mamá y papá. Y él dice saludos a Johnny Dandy Rodríguez, David Romero y todos, y también para ustedes dos, el gran Pablo Padín.
Saludos, Pablo.
Guasábara. Ya pronto, me imagino, Pablo, que saldrá algo de ustedes, ¿no? Guasábara, Zoom, en algún momento saldrá algo nuevo, así que esperamos poder compartirlo aquí en el programa. Pues el mensaje de la unidad latina, más que nada importante hoy en día, especialmente con todo lo que está pasando. Tú hablas de divisiones. Me da pena algunas veces ver cómo nuestro pueblo, en vez de trabajar para unirnos, nos divide. Caso sea lo que está pasando en California, en Los Ángeles, con el concejal. Sí. Y las palabras los comentarios que fueron hechos por algunas personas electas. Pero ese mensaje es sumamente importante y por medio de la canción ustedes tienen poder de convocatoria, así que tienen la oportunidad de compartir ese mensaje de unidad que para mí es sumamente importante para cada uno de nosotros como personas, como seres humanos y también como latinos. Y también recordarnos que somos seres humanos, que somos miembros de lo que es el ser humano. No es de tribu, sino de ser humano. Vamos a concluir con la última canción que viene del disco Entre Amigos. Y la canción lleva el título Busca tu puesto, en el cual Pacheco tiene un sinnúmero de invitados cantando con él. La lista es larga, pero incluye entre ellos Gilbertito Santa Rosa, Cheo Feliciano, Ismael Miranda, Alberto Santiago, Tito Rojas, José Alberto el Canario, Michael Stewart, Germán Olivera y nada más y nada menos que el gran Ray Viera. ¿Cómo es que viene esta canción Busca tu puesto del gran Johnny Pacheco con arreglo de Bobby Valentín?
Eso lo escribió, el Pacheco, tuvimos que soñar encima de algo, el coro que él inventó.
Uh-huh.
Entonces, pues, él quería una canción estilo Quítate tú, más o menos. Y inventó ese coro, y entonces Bobby Valentín hizo el arreglo. Y pues, tuvimos que meterle mano, como que dice.
Mete mano, si no te hay que quitarte el puesto.
Sí.
Para afuera, para afuera.
Y fue, tú sabes, tú estás ahí, tienes que representar bien la situación, tú sabes, cuando estás entre ese grupo de grandes intérpretes y cantantes y soneros.
No, todos son gigantes, todos son gigantes. David Romero hace una pregunta muy buena, que gracias David por hacer la pregunta. What flute players do you call to sort of cop Pacheco's flute playing style? ¿Quiénes son los flautistas que tienen un poco de Pacheco, aunque también tienen lo de ellos, ¿no? ¿Quiénes son? Y hablando de flautistas, acabamos de perder a Artie Webb, el cual vamos a escuchar a Artie pronto con Ray Barreto. So, who are some of those flute players? Cuando tú piensas de flautista, Edwin, Ray, ¿quiénes tú piensas?
Bueno, hay flautistas que llevan esa escuela porque vienen de esa escuela. They're not copying anything. They just, like, como el maestro Eddie Servigón, que es el flautista de la Broadway. Él está llevando más o menos esa misma escuela que la cual también Pacheco fue parte. Pero hay varios jóvenes, me imagino, que está Mauricio Smith Jr., que también es un gran flautista.
That's who I thought of.
Mauricio Smith, Jeremy Bosch. Jeremy Bosch, que ustedes saben, vino a Boston a estudiar en Berkeley, de Ponce. Él vino para estudiar flauta, se graduó de flauta, pero mientras está en Berkeley, se dan de cuenta que canta muy bien, entonces de pronto todo el mundo lo empuja para que cante, además de tocar flauta. Antiel, Johnny Dandy Rodríguez y José Madera, Mitch Froman, la banda grande, Marble Legends Orchestra, tocaron en Washington, D.C., un festival, no sé si lo vieron en video, donde tienen a Carlos Cascante y tienen a Jeremy como los cantantes. Y Jeremy, de nuevo, Ejecuta
Sí.
la flauta además de cantar, porque él tiene
Tiene el don de cantar también. Sí.
and that yeah, but he starts off as a flute player who happens to sing. Now he's a singer who happens to play flute, which is not the way it is, but he's
Exacto.
another one. He's a great one. Jeremy Bosch, otro de los buenos. Bueno, en lo que entramos en esta última canción, ¿dónde la gente puede adquirir PachecoLandia? How can people purchase the CD?
Bueno,
Oh,
por
it's
ahora
digital now.
es digital, por ahora, está en todas las plataformas digitales, on the digital platforms. Pero stay tuned because si Dios permite, pues, beginning of 2023, we should have it in vinyl for the public. I mean, it'll probably be a limited release, but we're going to have it in vinyl. So si Dios quiere, para principios del 2023 estará en físico, pero en vinilo. También quiero antes que se me olvide, que estén pendientes que Edwin ya mismo también va a estar trabajando en su propio proyecto, si Dios quiere. Y vamos a ver en lo que se cuaja en eso.
Edwin, wait a minute. This is front page news. Última hora. Extra. Read all about it. Edwin Sánchez new CD. Talk to us about that. What's happening?
No, I have my brother Ray here, man. He's also been motivating me, and I've done so much stuff for so many different people, and so I haven't really had the opportunity to focus on myself and the creations that I've done. Like I told you before, I have so many influences, man. The jazz, I love Brazilian. I love odd meters and stuff, and so. I've been talking to him about it, and he's motivating me to finish it. And so, I'm getting ready to do something of my own. So
Stay tuned.
I'm going to stay tuned, and I hope and I pray that you will think about me when it's all done, so that we can share it here on my show, not only here but on the radio, obviously. And when you say you're influenced by Brazilian music, so are we going to expect something that will be much more instrumental, or is it going to have voices as well?
No, I'm looking at instrumental stuff.
Okay.
I'm looking at that, and again, I'm just like sort of Ray is, in that I'm just all over the place right now, and so I need to hone in on one side. Like I said, I grew up in a city where I love R&B, I love jazz, I love salsa, but all this is inside of me, and it's just been difficult to sort of hone in on one style, and so hopefully this is going to be it right now. Yeah.
Well, before you leave, let's hear a little bit about this one.
Como yo soy el primero, tengo que romper el hielo. Para mí es un gran orgullo.
afincadito. El gran Johnny Pacheco, que en paz descanse. Bueno, señores, quiero dejarles saber, primero, antes que nada, antes de darle el micrófono a ustedes para que se despidan. Yo siempre digo, cuando vienen ustedes a visitarme aquí el programa, que para mí, humildemente, le digo que yo pienso que el Señor Todopoderoso, cuando crea la humanidad y el mundo, nos da a nosotros una bendición cuando Él dice, le voy a dar a usted algo bien especial, unos ángeles vivientes, y son músicos, compositores, arreglistas, artistas, actores, declamadores, poetas, escritores, quienes usan su arte, su don, su creatividad, su talento, su pasión por el arte y la música para traerles a ustedes, nosotros los seres humanos, amor, paz y alegría, felicidad y armonía a nuestros corazones y nuestras vidas. Ustedes dos son ejemplos de lo que son ángeles vivientes entre nosotros. Gracias. Los últimos 2 años y medio, si no hubiera sido por la música de ustedes, el esfuerzo que han hecho durante esta época para poder grabar esta propuesta musical en homenaje, en tributo al gran Johnny Pacheco, sin ustedes no pudiéramos tener la luz dentro de tanta oscuridad, no pudiéramos tener la esperanza cuando hay personas pasando por unos tiempos bien desagradables, perdiendo familia, enfermedades. Ustedes son los que nos inspiran cada día, así que más que nada los quiero. Bendiciones, que el Señor Todopoderoso lo come con muchas bendiciones a usted y su familia. Y gracias por el tiempo compartido. I love you. God bless you. You're living angels. As I always say, it's through you that we get peace, love, and happiness into our hearts, and joy and harmony to our lives, because you are the example of what true love is. You do this de corazón. You don't do it because you're going to get rich or you're going to be popular or whatever. You do it because that's who you are, and that's why you came on this earth. Amen. It was that moment that God said, don't worry, Ray Viera, your cousin's going to go home, but you're going to give a cassette, and that's going to change your life. It was that moment, Edwin Sánchez, that you grew up in Chicago, and you had all that influence from your mom and your dad, and you had a Hammond organ at home, my God. And then you became who you are today. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and I love you, and God bless you.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual, Jose. Thank you so much.
Sí, gracias por la oportunidad. Thank you for having us, because, you know, platforms like yours is what let people find out about the art that we create. And it's also, it goes hand in hand, you know, with the art. You know, if there's no exposure for the art, then it's like a tree falling in the woods. Nobody will hear it.
We truly appreciate what you do, Jose.
So we're grateful for that.
Thank you, my brothers. Some last comments before we head out. We got here, Jose Arroyo dice, gracias, Jose, Ray, and Edwin, for an excellent show. Thank you, Jose, for being part of it.
Thank you.
David Cantrell says, sign me up for the project. Edwin, you've got somebody who wants to be part of the project. Julie, thank you so much. It's good to hear that you were watching the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was from Julie. Laura gives us an applause of thank you. Wilfredo por aquí dice, tremendo show, mis hermanos. Dios los bendiga a todos y hasta la próxima. I love you, my brothers and sisters. Thank you, Wilfredo.
Un abrazo.
Ahí estamos, mi gente. Escuchemos. Hasta la próxima. Los quiero mucho. Que la pasen bien.
Gracias a ti.
Soy un negro sabrosito. Yo te enseño mi truquito. Oh, tremendo tumbaíto. Con swing pero suavecito. Prepárate, agúzate. Agarra a tu pareja y llévala a un rinconcito. Oye, y todos cantan bonito. Gracias, sonero.
And before we say goodnight, I mentioned that we have lost some living angels. Last week it was Ronnie Cooper. Yesterday, we lamented the loss of another one of our living angels at the age of 72. That would be the one and only Artie Webb. May he rest in peace and power. We're going to hear a cut before we say goodnight of Artie playing flute with Ray Viera, recorded live at the Beacon Theater. The song Bam Bam Quere with Rubén Blades on vocals. And next weekend on the radio show on WBUR, I'll be playing a set of music with the one and only Artie Webb. Antes de concluir la noche, vamos a despedirnos escuchando a Artie Webb en la flauta, con Rubén Blades en las vocales, Ray Barreto y la banda grabado en vivo en Nueva York. En el Beacon Theater, la selección Bam Bam Quere, que en paz descanse, quien fue en vida, Artie Webb, que nació en Filadelfia el día 24 de septiembre de 1950 y falleció ayer a la edad de 72 años. Webb. May he rest in peace and power. And this brings to a closure today's program. Reminding you, we'll be back next weekend on Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. Our guest will be Pablo Lindo Rosario. The following weekend, we will have another special guest joining us, and that will be Chris Rogers. So we have 2 weekends of great guests and great music right here on Con Salsa Live on Facebook and YouTube. You can watch some of the archives on YouTube, my channel, Jose Maso, and on Facebook at Con Salsa Jose Maso. Until next weekend, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for being part of Con Salsa Family. Hasta el próximo fin de semana, cuando regresamos con otra edición más del programa Con Salsa en vivo, aquí en Facebook y YouTube a las 4, con nuestro invitado Pablo El Lindo Rosario. Y la próxima semana, Chris Rogers será nuestro invitado latino. Defiende lo tuyo con orgullo. Todos unidos, entre amigos, uno para todos y todos para uno. En nombre mío, José Mazo. Hasta la próxima. Los quiero mucho. Que Dios los bendiga. Cuídense, por favor. Y gracias a Divina, mi coproductora, por el programa de hoy. Divina, I love you. God bless you.